Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. Well, I'm sitting in the city of Nanning, but by my background, you wouldn't think it was a city. Well, this is a village inside the city, which is still countryside as far as the people who live here think. Anyway, the reason, the topic for today is I've been ragging on the West a little bit too much, and you know, I'm getting a lot of feedback from people thinking that you know, I hit the West too hard. Well, you know, maybe that's true. You know, there's good and bad in both of these worlds. There's good in the West and there's good in the East. For instance, driving in the West. Driving in the West is fun. You get on a highway, it's 100 kilometers to where you're going, and in under an hour you're there. China, well, it's not going to be under an hour, I'll guarantee you that. You know, the idea that red means stop and green means go, they haven't figured that out in China yet. You know, you don't do a U-turn in the middle of the highway. You don't stop in an off-ramp. See, in Canada, the drivers know the laws and rules and regulations. In China, not so much. I think if China would you know, give out more tickets, take more licenses away, they might get a little bit better response on the roads. But the police seem a little lethargic about dealing with stuff. So yeah, that's you see. So in the West, driving is more fun than the East. You know, another thing about the driving in the West is there's no toll gate. So you get on a major highway in the States or Canada and you can drive from coast to coast. All you got to do is pay for your gas and your upkeep on your vehicle. You can drive from Alaska all the way down to Mexico and through Mexico. Toll gates? No, the roads are free. In China, you have to pay for the roads. It's a user pays policy. So, you know, that's another thing that makes driving so much more enjoyable. You don't get hit for a couple hundred RMB going on a highway from Nanning to Bobai or Nanning to Yulin. It's cheaper to take a bus. Another thing about China that's not good, and Canada's better, the States is better, is here you go into a restaurant, people are smoking. You go to a mall, people are smoking. You go anywhere and people are smoking and blowing smoke, and it's unhealthy. See, in Canada, you go to a restaurant, you know that there's nobody smoking. In the bars, nobody's smoking. Anywhere close to a door or government building, nobody's smoking. You know, so it just makes it so much nicer if you're sitting in a restaurant in the morning having breakfast that somebody's not blowing smoke in your face. China, yeah, there's smoking everywhere. It's another thing good about the West that takes the East out 100%. Maybe someday in the future they're going to say, oh, this is bad, and cut it out. But I've seen no smoking signs in restaurants and bars, and I've seen no smoking signs in malls, but it's just a sign. Nobody pays any attention to the sign. They just don't care. And of course, there's always the kids relieving themselves on the street, you know, both ends letting her go, you know, type thing. And in Canada, you would never see this. And you know, and it's not just the children. A lot of times you see these old boys, farm boys of course, hanging it out on the side of the street or in the bushes or up against a wall. You see, in Canada, you get a ticket for that. It's indecent exposure, I think, and it's pretty serious stuff. But you see, here in China, the cleanliness of it all isn't a big factor. They haven't come that far yet. China is still a developing country. As you can see behind me, this is in the city, so you're not going to get this in a Western city. So you have to take that into consideration, that although China has its good points, it also has its bad points. See, I can only talk about Nanning because that's where I live, or southern Guangxi province. And you know, I'd rather be in Yuma, Arizona in the wintertime where the skies are sunny. It's 25 to 28 degrees every day. You barbecued rib steaks, baked potatoes, sour cream, chives. You've got craft pizza mix. You've got good beer. You know, tacos, burritos, breakfast burritos, bacon and eggs, real bacon and well, the eggs are eggs, and toast for breakfast, or ham, real ham. Oh yes, you know, for breakfast. See, there's a lot of things that I do miss about the Western world that just doesn't happen in China. Okay, you can go for a barbecue, but a couple strips of skinny beef on a stick barbecued with some hot sauce on it just isn't the same, you know, compared to a medium done rib steak on a gas barbecue with, as I say, the baked potatoes. Now I'm getting hungry. You know, I don't drive in China. I did have a vehicle. I've got a license, but I sold the vehicle. One of the things I miss about Canada is my SUV. Driving around, you know, walking on my front door, jumping into my vehicle and taking off downtown. It makes it easier, especially when it's raining outside. Sam ain't very fun when it's raining outside, or if it's cold, or if it's too hot. See, the SUV's got air conditioning, cruise control on the highway. It's got heat in the wintertime. You know, it's more comfortable, you know, so you've got to take that into mind when you're looking at West versus East. Is Canada or the States is way more comfortable than China, you know, both in the home life and getting around. You know, there's things that you grow up with in Canada. Because I come from Saskatchewan, we're big fisher people, fishermen. Fisher people. That's Trudeau. See, even in China, it's starting to wear off on me, that little bastard. But you know, going to St. Bru in the end of May, early June, and fishing for walleye out of a boat, a little 16.5-foot Alumarine with a 25-horse Yamaha on the back, with, you know, your uncle and your dad and your brother and your nephew and you sitting in a boat, telling lies to each other, of course, and catching walleye and limiting out in under an hour. So then you throw the small ones back and you try for bigger ones. You know, here that just doesn't happen, you know. So the thing about losing out on fishing season every year is something that I really miss. You know, there's lots of things. You know, being able to speak English, being able to understand everybody, being in your home country, feeling comfortable in your home country, you know, just all of those things that go along with being in your home country. And I know a lot of Chinese people that live in Canada, not so many of the States, but in Canada, and they like it better there because it is more comfortable. You know, the houses are heated, the houses are cooled, the cars are heated, the cars are cooled. You don't have to pay toll bridges, you know, people aren't blowing smoke in your face, all these things. So I guess, why am I in China? Well, you know, I retired at an early age, 53, and I still wasn't ready to settle down. I still sort of craved adventure, something different. If you just sit as a retired person in Canada or the States in an old folks trailer park in Yuma, Arizona, which I actually enjoyed. Old people are interesting. You know, there's really not a lot of excitement there. You know, you don't learn anything new. Since I've been in China, you know, I've learned a lot of the language, I learned a lot of the customs, I've learned how people think, how people are. You know, I can say there's a lot of things that I like about China, and there's a lot of things that I like about Canada. Would I prefer, if I was given the choice of saying, well, you can only live in one country, which country would you live in? Well, I'd have to pick Canada. Why? Because it's my home country. But you see, all of these arguments that I've been portraying to you in this video, if, say, you ask my wife the same thing, she would agree with a lot of the stuff, but a lot of the things like the food, the convenience of the Chinese language, friends, family, you know, getting around, because she still doesn't have a driver's license, you know, so getting around, the public transportation, you know, she would probably pick China, you know, if she was given a choice of one country to live in. So I guess it's another reason why I'm in China is because this is where my wife comes from, and I feel that we should have an equal time period in each country and not be I guess segregated to one country so that either she loses out or I lose out. So what we do is we sort of flip it back and forth. This year we're in China. Next year, or this coming year, because it's already February 14th, Valentine's Day. Where is my Valentine? She's at home having a snooze because we're going to go out later. You know, probably this month we'll spend 6 months in Canada. And that's just a trade-off that we've made. You know, we've discussed it, and we find that it's better for us this way. So we spend 6, 7, 8 months in China. Then we go spend some time in Canada. And of course you're going to get bored with China after a while, because we've been here for so long now that we get tired of it. Of course we do. Then we want to change, so then we go to Canada. And we're in Canada for a while, and we get bored with it. We want to change, and we go to Yuma, Arizona. And then we get tired with that, and we come back to China. It's sort of a good life, you know, and it's one of those things that each country has its good and its bad, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in this video. You know, China isn't the best country in the world. Neither is Canada or the States. I don't think there's any country that's the best country in the world. I think that it all depends on where you're from, who you are, what you enjoy doing. Do you like adventure? Do you like being mobile more than to be clean, I guess? Maybe that's the way it is. I'm lucky to be able to have a life both in the East and the West, you know, and I was afforded this opportunity because I fell in love and I married a Chinese girl, you know. But when it really comes down to it and you ask my wife, where is your heart? Her heart will always be in China because she's Chinese. And you ask me, where's my heart? My heart will always be in Canada because I'm Canadian. That's just the way it is, you know. And being lucky to have a foot in both worlds is a good thing. It's an adventure. It adds to our life. It adds to who we are. It makes us, I guess, more interesting. We have more, I don't know, experiences that build character, I guess, is one way to put it. When people ask me in China, where are you from? You know, I tell them Canada, and I'm proud to tell them Canada. Why? Because Canada's a great country. Canada's a clean country. Canada has values. It's hard to explain. Free health care, not bad roads, people that obey the law, not a lot of murders or violent crime. A progressive, well, we had a progressive conservative government up until the Liberals came in, and they'll be back pretty soon. I'm sure in 2019 they'll get rid of Trudeau and go back to the real world. You know, there's a lot of things that are really good about Canada. I live on Vancouver Island when I'm in Canada. We've got a place there. I can literally walk out to my knees in the ocean off any corner of Nanaimo or Vancouver Island, reach down and pick up a Dungeness crab or a red rock crab right out of the water. I'm telling you, you can stick it in a bag, you can take it home and cook that puppy up, and they're great eating. But here in China, no, you can't do that. Why? Because by the ocean it's all fished out. The lakes, yeah, you're not going to want to eat anything that comes out of there because of the pollution. So, you know, there's a lot of good things that I see in Canada. You know, I'd be making videos about what the West could learn from China, but you know, there's some things that China could learn from the West too. Clean up the pollution for one. You know, there's too much garbage. There's too much pollution in the air. It has to do with a lot of people, but I'm sure if the government tried, they could curb that a little bit more. Another thing that they could fix is take care of the mentally ill. You see on the streets a lot of homeless people, and they're mentally ill, or else they wouldn't be on the street. Well, maybe they would be, but I've seen a lot of people with mental problems on the street. Another thing, old folks' homes or assisted living residences in China, there's so few of them, and it burdens the one-child policy children that have to take care of 2 or 4 parents, depending on if they're married or not. They haven't come to that point yet, where in the Western world we've already crossed that path, and the older people, when healthcare is needed or assisted living is needed, it's taken care of. And if the person can't pay for it, yes, the government foots the bill for it, which I think is a good thing. Another thing, food safety. I don't know how many times I've got food poisoning in China, but then I'll eat just about anything off the street, which is sort of stupid, but it tastes so darn good. So, I think that they could clean up the food safety a little bit more. Better internet. They need better internet. They need better internet service and less restrictions on the internet. See, for China to actually become a world power and be taken seriously by the rest of the world, they have to open up a little bit more, in my opinion. This isn't a political video by any means. It's just my personal view that if the internet was more open to everybody, the Chinese that live here, the Westerners that live here, so you don't need a VPN to get Facebook and Google and stuff like that. Well, I think there wouldn't be as much bad press against China as there is now. So for now, China is sort of like the Wild West, Arizona and Arizona territory and stuff back in the 1800s, where this is sort of like the Wild East, where it's just developing into a country, and given another 10 to 20 years, I think they're going to come around, and it's going to never be the West because the cultural differences, but it's going to get close to what the West is, and people will start maybe acting more Western than they are now. They'll never be Western people, and they should never be Western people, because this is China. This is a different country. It's got different cultures, different backgrounds, different superstitions, different everything. Actually, that's what makes it so interesting. But until that day, there's still a lot of uneducated people in China, and it's going to take more education and more work by the Chinese people to bring their standard of living up to where it's close to being Canada, the United States, or even Eastern or Western European countries. But I do believe that they'll get there sooner or later, because they're hard-working people, and it's a neat country. I'm telling you, this has been one of the best experiences in my life, is living in China. Anyway, that's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. Thanks for watching. Bye now.